Build a successful niche content creation system. A lot of people believe the mistaken idea that they have to produce content every single day. In their minds, the more content they have, the more Google will index, and the more traffic they would get from search engines. Absolutely wrong. It depends on your niche. For example, if you are a publisher of an online newspaper, you have to publish at least once a day. Oftentimes, news is updated several times a day. But if your niche is fairly static, like, let's say, insurance, and you're not offering insurance news, then you should publish once a month at most. The key here is to prioritize quality over quantity. This is how you will dominate your niche. Focus your firepower on one amazing piece of content and spend the rest of your time promoting that awesome piece of content. That's how you build an empire. Again, it depends on your niche, but the takeaway here is quality over quantity. The shortcut. As you probably already know, if you come up with some weird ideas for what's hot in your niche, chances are you'll fall flat on your face. This is almost guaranteed. Unless you're absolutely sure that you have some sort of mental connection with your target audience members, chances are whatever ideas you think are hot are not all that hot to them. This is where reverse engineering comes in. Study your competitors and look at their most successful pieces of content. Look for content they have that has amazing levels of engagement. Start with those topics. Pay attention to those patterns and themes. Collect them, and then start with curation. Your first step must be curation. At this point, you really don't know what works and what doesn't work. At this point, all you know is your niche and your container for your niche. Accordingly, you should get the best pieces of content and populate it on your social media accounts. Market your accounts to try to get engagement for them. Pay attention to click patterns. Which pieces of content get a lot of clicks? Which pieces of content get a lot of engagement? Now, line these up and then see which pieces of content actually gets conversions. I'm talking about sales or mailing list opt-ins here. Once you have seen the results from your curated content, zero in on the specific types of content that generate a lot of the results that you're looking for. Load more successful curated content. Now that you know the theme or type of content that gets a lot of love from your audience members, get more of that stuff. See if the pattern holds. If this is the case, then you're onto something. You can then move on to the discussion below. However, if you notice that the new stuff isn't converting as the old stuff, then you need to keep looking for more patterns. It may well turn out that the initial success of certain niche content may be a fluke. Maybe it's some sort of statistical blip. Given enough time, you should be able to see key patterns as far as the type of content that generates the most engagement, conversions, or clicks. Create your own content based on your most successful curated material. Now that you have a clear idea of the type of curated content that gets the most engagements, conversions, and clicks, the next step is to come up with your own version of that content. You have to remember, when you're curating content, you're just pumping traffic to somebody else's website. It's still benefiting you because you get to use their content to build credibility and authority with your audience members. However, you're not getting actual clicks to your site. The conversions that you get are either ad conversions because you mounted this curated content on your blog, or your social media profiles because you put an affiliate ad on those pages. Still, these third-party pieces of content don't result in traffic to your specific site. When you create your own content based on these successful curated pieces of content, you build traffic to your site. How exactly do you improve on successful curated content? First, you can feature updated content. By simply making sure that your version of your niche's most successful content has the most up-to-date information, you can improve the quality of existing competitor content out there. Next, you can provide multimedia for this type of content. For example, a top 10 list on the best dog houses are big in your niche. Instead of just a text list of key products and what's so awesome about them, show actual videos and pictures. Third, you can use long-form content. What if I told you that search engines actually reward longer pieces of content with more traffic than shorter pieces of content? This should be fairly easy to understand because the longer your content is, the more keywords it has, and the more this can trigger Google to send traffic that targets those keywords. Look at your competitors' most successful content and come up with longer versions of them. Fourth, you can simplify the most successful curated content you can find so that your audience members would find them easier to understand. This can involve diagrams, and this can also involve rewriting the materials in 8th grade English. Do what you have to do to make sure that this material is as accessible to your niche audience as possible. Finally, you can convert your competitors' most successful content into a video. This not only gives you access to YouTube, but it also makes your content more engaging on social media like Facebook, which design your niche content system for maximum conversion. Keep in mind that at this point, your niche brand marketing system has three structural parts: your website, social media accounts, and your mailing list. The problem is, if you stop here, you're going to fail. Why? You built a container, but you still have to come up with the content of that container. This is where creating a niche content system comes in. It has to be a system. It can't just be stuff that you come up with randomly to fill out your website. That's not going to work. Key content strategies. Niche specificity builds authority. The first content strategy you're going to focus on is niche specificity. Everything that you include in your blog or your website has to be directly related to your target niche. The more specific you are, the more authoritative and credible your online property becomes. Remember, the people who visit your website are not there to screw around. They're not doing it for their health. It's not like they have nothing else better to do. They're there because they have certain needs. It's your job to meet those needs. Otherwise, you don't develop a brand. Adapt your content to target different platforms. It's really important to make sure that you don't just produce one type of content. When you create content, it must be converted into a format that can be promoted on different platforms. For example, if you have a blog, you can promote the blog's link on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. However, don't stop with blog posts. You can convert that post into a video. Maybe it's a whiteboard with some sort of voiceover and animation. Once you've converted your content into video, you then access Vimeo or YouTube. You can get traffic from those places. You can also look at your content and strip it into small questions and promote on places like Quora. I hope you get the point. You have to start with content that is directly related to your niche, but create different formats of that content so as to widen the places you can distribute that content on. Maximize dwell time. Another key content strategy that you have to totally wrap your mind around involves the concept of dwell time. When you get people to visit your website, try to get them to stay for as long as possible. In other words, try to get them to dwell on your content. How come? First of all, Google's algorithm rewards websites that hold people for a longer period of time. If, for example, your website shows up in search results and a person clicks and takes a long time to get back to Google, Google's algorithm is set up to reward your site and punish websites that people bounce out of immediately. In Google's estimation, the searcher found what he or she was looking for on your website. That's why they stuck around for quite some time. The second advantage of dwell time involves branding. The more you get people to click page after page of your website, the more you brand them. The more you establish in their minds your authority and credibility. This leads to increasing levels of trust. You might even convince them to come back or, better yet, refer other people to your site. Finally, when you maximize dwell time, you walk the reader through the KLT process. This process is generally associated with sales. To get somebody to buy something from you, you must get them to trust you. However, for that trust to happen, they must like the option that you put on the table. Unfortunately, for that to happen, something else has to happen first. They must first feel that you know enough about their problem for them to like the solution that you're pushing. This is the KLT process. Know, like, trust. When you interlink your content in a very thorough way, you basically get the person to cycle through the different pieces of content you have. This gives them a good understanding of your expertise. This